Salam alaikum, rahmatullah wa barakatuh, sabah al-khair, bonjour à tout le monde. Nous sommes très heureux d'être ici, les représentants des grandes organisations économiques israéliennes, et de pouvoir vous présenter l'économie israélienne et en fait commencer ce qu'on appelle le dialogue entre le secteur privé israélien et le secteur privé marocain pour développer les relations économiques entre nos deux pays. Mon nom est Dan Katarivaz, je suis le directeur général des relations internationales du patronat israélien et je serai le modérateur de cette réunion. Vous pouvez voir d'ailleurs qu'en bas, vous avez sur vos écrans la possibilité d'avoir une interprétation en français, puisque une grande partie de nos orateurs parleront en anglais, mais vous aurez directement une interprétation simultanée en français. Vous n'aurez qu'à appuyer sur le sigle d'interprétation sur le français et vous pourrez donc entendre l'interprétation en français. Nous avons donc un programme qui est chargé avec les représentants de toutes les organisations importantes en Israël qui représentent le secteur privé et à la fin, nous aurons également la possibilité de poser des questions. Les questions, vous les poserez en écrivant par le chat en bas. Vous pouvez écrire ou en anglais ou en français et je serai donc le meneur de jeu et je passerai les questions aux différentes personnes selon la question. Voilà, alors sans trop attendre, et puisque le temps presse, j'ai l'honneur d'inviter du côté marocain M. Steve Ohana, qui est membre du conseil d'administration de la CGEM, qui est notre partenaire marocain et qui, avec nous, organise ce forum. Monsieur Ohana est également un homme d'affaires bien connu et aujourd'hui, il a également la fonction du président du conseil d'affaires Maroc-Israël et je lui laisse la parole. Monsieur Ohana, la parole est à vous. Unmute yourself. Monsieur Ohana, vous devez ouvrir, voilà. Ouvrez votre micro, Monsieur Ohana.
C'est bon là?
Voilà, c'est bon, très bien.
Merci Dan. Chers partenaires, chers consoeurs, chers confrères, mesdames et messieurs, tout d'abord, j'aimerais remercier la Israeli Employer Business Organization pour l'organisation de ce premier webinaire pour présenter le potentiel commercial et d'investissement qui s'offre aux entreprises marocaines en Israël. Ravi de constater une assistance aussi importante à cette rencontre qui vient confirmer l'intérêt que portent les opérateurs économiques marocains, toutes tailles et secteurs confondus, au renforcement des relations d'affaires entre le Maroc et Israël, ainsi que la forte volonté de créer ensemble de la valeur ajoutée, partagée et des emplois pérennes. Considérant nos relations fraternelles, notre proximité culturelle, les complémentarités et les similitudes entre nos deux économies, ainsi que la transformation que celles-ci ont connue durant ces dernières années, il existe de nombreuses opportunités à saisir. Comme vous le savez, grâce au leadership de Sa Majesté le Roi Mohamed VI, que Dieu l'assiste, le Maroc dispose aujourd'hui d'un climat des affaires et d'atouts dont l'attractivité est reconnue à l'échelon mondial. Je peux citer entre autres sa stabilité politique et macroéconomique, son capital humain qualifié, ses infrastructures de classe internationale, sa position géographique en tant que porte vers l'Europe et hub pour l'Afrique, ses 54 accords de libre-échange ou encore la résilience et l'innovation de son secteur privé prouvée pendant toute cette période de pandémie. Au-delà du bilatéral, la coopération économique maroco-israélienne peut donc s'inscrire dans une approche multilatérale afin de pénétrer ensemble de nouveaux marchés où chacun de nos pays est présent et compétitif. Notre collaboration peut également s'élargir à plusieurs secteurs d'intérêt commun identifiés tels que l'agriculture, les énergies renouvelables, l'eau, l'industrie, le tourisme, les nouvelles technologies, l'innovation et la cybersécurité. Ainsi, pour concrétiser ces ambitions, la CGEM et IEBO ont procédé en mars dernier à la signature d'un accord de partenariat stratégique marquant la création du Conseil d'affaires Maroc-Israël, que j'ai l'insigne honneur de présider avec M. Yann Assor en tant que vice-président. Nous ne ménagerons aucun effort pour mettre à profit notre expérience au service de cette initiative louable. Ce conseil d'affaires se veut certes une plateforme de rapprochement entre les entreprises marocaines et israéliennes, mais surtout et avant tout un accompagnement et un soutien concret pour la réussite des projets d'investissement et des joint ventures. Nous nous réjouissons d'ailleurs de constater l'engouement des investisseurs des deux parties. L'implantation en cours au Maroc d'un des leaders mondiaux de la télémédecine en est un des exemples vivants. Pour ce qui est des échanges commerciaux, le Conseil d'affaires travaille de manière assidue avec la Fédération of Israeli Chamber of Commerce pour la mise en relation des exportateurs et importateurs de nos deux pays en fonction de leur intérêt commun. D'ailleurs, nous lançons avant la fin de l'année un outil électronique qui permettra de faciliter davantage l'accès à l'information et de favoriser l'échange entre nos deux communautés des affaires. Mesdames et messieurs, toutes les conditions sont réunies pour hisser les relations économiques et commerciales entre le Maroc et Israël au rang d'un partenariat solide, pérenne et porteur de croissance partagée. À nous de travailler ensemble dans cette voie. Merci de votre attention.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Ohana, le président Ohana. Je veux rappeler à l'audience que cette conférence aujourd'hui n'est que le premier chapitre d'une autre conférence qui sera le 4 novembre, où à ce moment-là, ce sera le côté marocain qui présentera les opportunités au côté israélien. Donc, nous commençons cette fois-ci en présentant l'économie israélienne à nos collègues marocains. Et le 4 novembre, il y aura en fait, je dirais, la deuxième manche, donc la présentation de l'économie marocaine pour les entrepreneurs et pour les hommes d'affaires israéliens. Avant de passer la parole à notre ambassadeur, vous avez derrière vous, vous voyez que nous avons tous différents sigles, différents logos, et en fait, nous sommes les 4 organisations qui représentent donc le patronat israélien, qui représente la Fédération des chambres de commerce, l'Association des industriels, l'association, en fait, l'Institut des exportations et la Chambre de commerce Israël-Maroc. Ces 4 organisations donc, se sont mis ensemble pour organiser ce séminaire et je pense que vous aurez donc à entendre les représentants de toutes ces organisations qui vont suivre. Mais maintenant, je passe la parole à notre ambassadeur au Maroc, M. David Govrin, son Excellence David Govrin, qui a été pendant longtemps un diplomate de carrière, a été notre ambassadeur en fait à la République arabe unie au Caire et qui aujourd'hui est notre ambassadeur à Rabat. Monsieur, son Excellence Govrin, je vous passe la parole, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you very much, Dan. Good morning, everyone. Then I know that you are very punctual with regard to the time schedule, so I'll be very short as I was requested. I'm very pleased and honored to welcome you all, participants of this important webinar. Since I arrived to Morocco at the beginning of this year, I've noticed the great economic and commercial potential of the Israeli-Moroccan relationship. However, we are in a situation, we are at a stage where we have to explore deeper this potential. We have to identify the fields of common interest in order to direct our time as well as the effort to the right direction. I'm confident that this webinar will serve this important cause. The staff of the Israeli embassy in Rabat and I myself are working very hard on developing and expanding our contacts throughout Morocco vis-a-vis the government and the private sector, ministries, so on and so forth. We therefore encourage you to approach us in order to facilitate the economic cooperation between the two countries. We are located here in Rabat, in Morocco, and we will be more than happy to assist you as much as possible. I wish you a fruitful and a successful webinar, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Merci beaucoup, Son Excellence. Et maintenant, nous passons à la partie business. Et notre premier intervenant, en fait, est Monsieur Amir Shani, qui est le vice-président des chambres de commerce israéliennes. Il est également le président de la commission des affaires étrangères de la Fédération des chambres de commerce et également préside la commission des transitaires, puisque lui-même est le propriétaire, le CEO d'une grande maison de transition de transitaires en Israël, la boîte Amit. Et donc, ça me fait un grand plaisir de passer la parole à Monsieur Shani. The floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And as I mentioned, and I don't see David anymore, but David, I met him last time in March 19. It was in Cairo. It's mean, I remember very well what you did, very successful in Cairo. And I'm sure that for us in Rabat, more than welcome and good luck and successful. And I'm sure with your powerful what you did in Cairo, and it's not easy one, I'm sure you could do it together with the Moroccan. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, it's more than an honor to be here today, and especially after the peaceful agreement between Morocco and Israel. And it's more than exciting for us as a citizen in Israel, because I'm sure that you know, we have a lot of brothers and people that come up from Morocco. It's a long way that Morocco and Israel went together. I'm sure that today, the special occasion, it's part of the strategic agreement that we signed with the CGM that brought up the Israeli-Morocco business. And this is, for me, is a good chance to appreciate Mr. Steve Ohana, the president of Israel-Morocco business. You are the spirit behind and promote it, and we appreciate for the push that you are doing to develop the community and the business-wise. On behalf, I might take on behalf of the three organizations, that's mean behalf of the Manufacturing Industrial and the Israeli Export Institute and the Chamber of Commerce, I'm sure that all of us three together in Israel, it's a good platform. And not good, it's even more than the best to make the import and the export and the investment going on and as quick as possible. We know very well the potential in Morocco, and I'm not speaking about only the agriculture. If you speak about the textile, spare parts for cars, energy, infrastructure, I'm sure that it's going to be a win-win situation for the import and to the export to Morocco and to Israel. And it's a win-win situation. I appreciate for all the people joined this webinar this morning. It's, as I mentioned before, it's a historical moment for us to go one step furthermore. Thank you and good luck.
Merci beaucoup, vice-président Amir Chani. Et maintenant, j'aimerais passer la parole à son Excellence, Monsieur Yehuda Lankri. Vous voyez, on a beaucoup d'ambassadeurs aujourd'hui. Monsieur Lankri est en fait le président de la Chambre de commerce Israël-Maroc, et la Chambre binationale. Lui-même est un ancien et membre du Parlement israélien et ancien ambassadeur d'Israël en France et à New York. Et aujourd'hui, donc, avec des origines marocaines, mais je pense qu'il vous les dira, en fait, je lui passe la parole à vous, ambassadeur Lankri.
Ok. Merci, Dan. Très cher Jean-Ny, bonjour. Je souhaiterais en premier lieu exprimer mes plus vifs remerciements aux organisateurs de cet événement réellement important et pour le fait d'avoir associé la Chambre de commerce de naissance récente Israël-Maroc, lui permettant ainsi de participer à ce dialogue et cette concertation entre opérateurs israéliens et marocains. J'ai la certitude que ce diptyque zoomien, puisqu'il y a deux volets, le volet actuel et celui du 4 novembre, engendreront certainement une somme importante de renseignements, d'exploration, de concertation et de partenariat entre les opérateurs économiques et sociaux de nos deux pays. Marocain de naissance, cela a été introduit par Dan. Je souhaiterais saisir cette occasion très privilégiée pour réitérer mon attachement insécable au Royaume du Maroc, à ce peuple marocain, dont j'estime que je suis moi-même, depuis ma tendre enfance et mon adolescence, porteur d'une tranche illustre de son histoire, de sa langue, de sa culture, et dire ma reconnaissance et ma gratitude à ce peuple marocain et à son auguste souverain, Sa Majesté Mohammed VI, que Dieu l'assiste. Dans la mouvance des accords d'Abraham et la reprise de la normalisation avec le Maroc, et je me réjouis de la présence de l'ambassadeur, son Excellence David Govrin, au poste d'ambassadeur d'Israël au Maroc, des chambres de commerce bilatérales ont été créées. Et par ordre de préséance chronologique, d'abord au Maroc, sous la présidence de mon très cher Saïd Ben-Rian, ambassadeur du Maroc, avec lequel je travaille en très étroite concertation. Nous avons, de part et d'autre, exploré les meilleurs moyens possibles d'aboutir à une convergence dans un esprit de concertation aussi intime que possible pour générer des résultats aussi tangibles que possible dans la relation socio-économique maroco-israélienne. Ainsi avons-nous constitué de part et d'autre des commissions sectorielles qui assistent les conseils d'administration de part et d'autre des deux chambres de commerce dans la mise en relation des opérateurs économiques dans autant de domaines qui sont, si je puis dire, dans le cadre de la compétence de nos chambres. L'énergie, les infrastructures, la santé, la haute technologie et l'innovation, l'industrie, le tourisme, autant de champs à explorer et que nous entendons, Saïd Ben-Rian et moi-même, faire avancer autant que possible pour consolider le développement et la promotion socio-économique de nos deux sociétés. Je conclurai simplement par mes vœux des plus affectueux à l'endroit de mes concitoyens marocains et israéliens en leur souhaitant à nous-mêmes, à tous, une complète réussite dans ce dialogue ici amorcé. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, ambassadeur Lancry. Et je dois seulement citer également que les commissions et le travail bilatéral, nous le faisons également ensemble avec la Chambre de commerce et ensemble avec le Conseil d'affaires de M. Steve Ohana. Le plus nous sommes à l'ouvrage, le mieux ça vaut. Donc nous allons tous nous réunir et tous travailler ensemble pour faire avancer les relations bilatérales entre les deux pays dans les différents secteurs qui vont être identifiés. Je suis sûr que et la Chambre de commerce et le Conseil d'affaires et tous les autres partenaires pourront travailler ensemble pour augmenter et approfondir les relations économiques entre les deux pays. Nous passons maintenant à M. Adiv Baruch, qui en fait nous fera une présentation de l'économie israélienne. M. Adiv Baruch, qui est le président de l'Institut d'exportation, qui est en fait l'organe semi-gouvernemental israélien à la promotion des exportations. Lui-même est un homme d'affaires qui a une longue expérience dans le domaine du high-tech et qui plus précisément également s'occupe de l'éducation des jeunes entrepreneurs en Israël pour effectivement créer la nouvelle génération des entrepreneurs israéliens. Et je suis très content d'avoir M. Baruch avec nous en tant que président de l'Institut des exportations. Monsieur Baruch, c'est à vous.
Thank you, Danny. Bonjour, sabah al-khair, and good morning to all the delegates, distinguished guests, Ambassador Ohana, my dear friend, of course, everyone here is actually committed to what we have been following the Abraham Accord. And under my role at the Israeli Export Institute, I'm so proud that we've been able to really work closely together with the Chamber of Commerce and with the Industrial Trade Association, the Export Institute, really formed one lateral large organization to make sure that we really develop and expose Israel, not only to the world, but in particular to all the Abraham Accord countries who are now expediting the economic processes with Israel. And Morocco in particular, when we look at our historic relationship, the wonderful Moroccan community who made the Aliyah to Israel and had an amazing impact on the Israeli economy, we always had ties with Morocco. We had no conflict. But now since we've signed the contract and we can really have a direct connection between one to each other to understand the needs, that means that we have to put our hands together and work as fast as we can to try to cover the last years that we didn't have direct contact, but to expedite the process to fit into the global competition. And in order to do so, I felt within the limited time that I have to present is actually to take you through a short presentation of what we call the past, present, and future of Israel that can give all of us a sense that everything can be done, and we will do it together. So, Zev, you will be my trusted guide. First of all, can you hear me okay? Raise your hand, Zev.
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, so I'll share the presentation with your permission.
Just full screen, Dibush.
Just a second. So let's try again for a second.
Tout de suite, M. Baruch.
I got it, Danny. I'm having, although we tested everything, but
מעולה.
are we good now?
Um,
Zaev, how are we doing?
yeah, you just go back. Yeah, yeah, you can start.
Can you see the full slide now?
Okay.
Yes, you can start.
Okay. So if we really look at ourselves, only about 40 years ago, our GDP was only $6,800. Can you imagine that? We had
אדיב, לא שומעים אותך טוב. תתקרב למסך, לא שומעים טוב. ולעשות מסך גדול אם אפשר. המצגת על כל המסך.
יש פה בעיה. No. We're having a problem because of the duplicate screens. Let's give it one more try. Let's try.
On a quelques problèmes techniques, on va tout de suite... On va tout de suite avoir la possibilité de vous faire la présentation d'une façon plus facile. Je pense que le problème va tout de suite être résolu.
Okay, how are we doing now, Danny?
Voilà.
Danny, are we okay?
Yes, we're okay. I mean, I hear you well. Now the presentation is not yet on, but I hope it will be on. But you can speak. Go ahead, and I hope they put the presentation.
The presentation should be on.
Malheureusement, les problèmes techniques, si on était au Maroc, cela ne se passerait pas, mais on espère arriver dans pas longtemps, physiquement vous visiter. Voilà, je pense que maintenant, ça devrait se faire. תעבוד ככה, אם זה... אמנם אין מסך מלא, אבל...
לא.
גם כי זה לא מסך מלא. אוקיי.
זה בסדר, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's start with that. Okay. So, as we said, we start with low GDP, high inflation rate, moving, and was really crucial to the state of Israel as our economy was way too small to really embrace all the technology, the solution, the developments that we had. We realized, and that's why the Israeli Export Institute was formed 63 years ago, 10 years after the inception of the state of Israel, realizing that the economic relationship are as important and even sometimes more important than diplomatic relationship. And even today, we are exporting to countries that we still don't have diplomatic relationship. So our export was really our #1 mission to grow the economy. And throughout the years, starting from 1985, all the way going forward, we've tried to beat every year the OECD numbers. And of course, if you look at the world trade growth, Israel was always a bit ahead of the curve as a mission. If you look at our economy throughout the years, starting from 1996, we had a very low credit rating, all the way to 2020, where we first time approved to have the AAA credit rating through Israel, and that put us as a major player in the global markets. Now, I've tried to summarize, and you can see throughout the years from 1980 to 2020, there is a pure correlation between our GDP and our export. So remember, we were at $6,000, our GDP, going all the way to $42,000, almost $43,000 per capita, which is really one of the leading countries in the world. But more important, in 2019, right before the COVID, our export was over 114 billion US dollars. That's a phenomenal number. And in 2020, in spite of the COVID and in spite of the epidemic, where the world has expected to shrink down in global trade, we at Israel, together with our different sectors around the country, we have been able to maintain the same level of export in 2020. And by the way, in 2021, we are expected to grow over 126 billion US dollars in export, which is really phenomenal when you look at what happened in the world and what happened with the COVID-19 impact. And the reason I'm saying all that is it's to give us the hope that between Morocco and Israel, as low as the numbers are today, it's not only about the bilateral trade that we can create between our countries, because there are many neighboring countries around Morocco that we can increase our competitiveness edge and to drive goods, commodities, and services to the region, together with education, together with creating new additional skill sets and job opportunities in Morocco. And we will elaborate if we have some more time. But if we look at what Israel is exporting, we actually divide our products into goods and services. And as you can see, most of our export in the early 80s, it was pure goods. But since we had invested in the human capital, we had invested in our innovation, technology solutions, we've realized that will be the growth engine. And actually by 2019 and actually reaching over 220, if you look at our export, over 50% of our services being exported to the world is related to technology and technology-related solution. We're talking about not only the high-tech, which is one of the growth engines, but even implementing technology and innovation in our low-tech industries, in our mid and low-tech industries, in our mid and high-tech industries, that has created the differentiation to enable us to compete in the global market. And that's something that if we really work together, we can do it and to impact the Moroccan market just as well. So if you look at the high-tech services, and I will skip this slide and we're going to which are the industrial and services, that we can see that we've grown into the electronic components and medical solution devices. And of course, the high-tech industry services continue to grow. The computing services, the software, moving into the cyber, as COVID-19 actually shifted the whole world on steroids to the digital space, we were prepared to take a leadership position in this global competition. Now, innovation. Today, Israel is known around the world not only as a startup nation and not only through the technology, but we are becoming one of the more important hubs of innovation to the world. And how it has been done, and that's really important to understand. Because if you look today at the different groups of countries and geographical spread of innovation, Israel actually is 5th rated. But when you look at the breakdown and why are we 5th, we are the #1 country investing in R&D intensity. When you actually consider the size of the country and the potential of growth, it kind of lowering us because we're a very small country when it comes to the global markets. But if you look at every pillar based on the Global Competitiveness Index of the World Economic Forum, if you look at the innovation, the R&D, the Science and Research Institute, we're always rated at the same numbers as the first one. Switzerland, United States, and Israel always, and most of the times, have the same scores. But the most important pillar, when you look at the investment in R&D per capita and as a percent of our GDP, Israel is #1 in the world investing in R&D. And for years, we did it based on understanding the global challenges. We're not only inventing and developing solutions for the present, we always have the teams who would look forward 20, 30, 40 years ahead of the market, try to understand the global challenges and bring the world solutions. But more important, I know there's a huge gap in the media between what Israel is all about versus what we do here. And we actually have opened our arms, hands, know-how, knowledge, everything to share with the world, to transfer that know-how to different countries in order for all of us to live on a better planet and to do good to the world. And that was one of our mission. Our generation that has been leading the technology sector in Israel took that and carved it as a mission to share it with the world, and there are plenty of examples. Now, again, based on the OECD chart and map, Israel is also ranked #1 in investing in R&D. Now, another major factor that moved the whole market forward and was the seeding capital was the VC community. Throughout the years, the global VC community found Israel as an attractive site, both due to the human capital, our innovation capabilities, and our pace of moving forward, attracted Israel as one of the leading countries for VCs to invest. And if we look at the numbers, even of 2020, moving toward 2021, only for the first 6 months of 2021, there are over $10 billion who have been invested and injected into our economy. About 92% is foreign direct investment capital that is expediting and accelerating our growth. If we look and try to compare and to get a sense of how many startups Israel has and what is the new injection of startups every year, we're still what we call the Silicon Wadi. We are the leading region of injecting new startups every year. And compared to London, Berlin, Paris, and other countries around us, you see the number, 6,000 startups versus in the country that is about 10 million people. You have to remember that as we move along. If you look at our consecutive growth of high-tech companies, the amount of capital that was raised in 2019 was about $8.3 billion. But 2020 and 2021 were the peak years for Israeli unicorn companies to go publicly traded or to be acquired in capital that was over $27 billion. That is really sky-roof numbers. And I will skip due to our time limitation and constraint. We'll skip the slide, but more important is that every single leading company in the tech sector has decided to set up a second R&D center in Israel. And today, if we look in 2021, we have over 400 multinational R&D centers in Israel in the field of telecommunication, new media, software, of course, electronic, life science, and life science, bio, and pharma. And that drives our economy much faster than other regions, because it's not only that we have access to new innovation coming from Israel, but those multinationals are enabling the ecosystem of the Israeli market to access market much faster than others. Because when you're connected now to Amazon, to Microsoft, to Philips, to Siemens, to Johnson & Johnson, to Pfizer, they're door openers to many of the Israeli companies to expedite their penetration to the global market. And that's something that I believe, with our experience and know-how and our will to share it with the younger generation, the leading generation of the future in Morocco, we can actually do the same paradigm shift as Israel went through in the last 40 years. Now, I'll skip the clusters and so forth, but more important is to focus where are the current opportunities that we can really share. So of course, it's natural to talk about agro-technology and food technology and so forth. The ecosystem in Israel today, from animal feeding, precision farming, intensive control, seed enhancement, the biological fertilization, all those segments, we have leading companies that are leading the world, and the ecosystem is over 770 companies that are in the field of agro-technology. So we can work on that. The second part is water technology. We have to understand that Israel today is the leading country in the world. About 86% of our water is coming from water recycling and water desalination. That means, and that's another major factor to understand, all of our innovation and solution that we're bringing to the world, first and foremost, came from necessity. Since Israel has no natural resources, no natural assets, we're always limited in land, water, and so forth. So we had to use our innovation capabilities to take those leadership positions. If you look about clean tech, today, since we had to go through the process of fighting the oil money that was going to terrorism, understanding that we have no natural resources, so we became one of the leading countries in the world when it comes to clean tech and renewable energy. Today, most of the autonomous cars and those electronic cars, most of the development is being done in Israel in different factories. It's crazy to explain it, and people most of the time don't even understand, but Israel has never manufactured any car. And all of a sudden, after the development of a few of the companies in Israel, since the cars became what we call computers on wheels, Israel has today every single R&D center of the car manufacturer in the world has developed a center in Israel, because we are now implemented in most of the cars. Israel technology today is implemented in most of the cars without having any manufacturing facility for manufacturing cars. If you look at our healthcare and biomedical sectors, Israel today has over 1,500 companies in that field. And of course, COVID-19 expedited what we call the digital healthcare solutions. And yes, that's another growth engine that Morocco and Israel should look into it, and we can really build the bridges to develop that. Cyber, very well known.
עדיב, אתה חייב לסיים, אז בוא תנסה לסיים עוד 2-3 דקות.
Okay, Danny, so cyber is very crucial and critical. As we move to the digital space, the crime has risen, so the financial technologies and so forth. But due to time limitation, we also have to remember that the world is getting older. And by 2050, the elder population is going to constitute about 25% of the population. So we have to come up with solutions and technologies to be able to serve the growing population and the aging population around the world. But if you look at the Israeli economy, let's try to summarize. We're free and open economy, absolutely. We export, and we think globally from inception. Yes, we do. We have one of the highest skilled human resources in the world, which attracts the R&D centers. We have the rapid development, but more important, we are an entrepreneurial culture. This is a very key differentiator. So if you look at our secret formula, just think of it. Technology and innovation plus a human capital is creating the economic growth prosperity for the state of Israel, and we're willing to share it with Morocco. So if you look at the numbers in summary, 1984, $6,807 GDP, all the way to 42,000, fighting inflation, no inflation, and we have actually lowered the government debt to almost nothing. So with all that, I think and I believe that we are here to show our commitment to develop the bridges between Morocco and Israel, and together with the Chamber of Commerce, the Association of Industry and Trade, the Israeli Export Institute, our Ministry of Economy, our Foreign Ministry, we're all uniting forces to make sure that we're doing properly for our generation and for our future generations. Thank you all.
Merci beaucoup à M. Hadid Barouk. La présentation d'ailleurs sera disponible, nous la transmettrons à la CGEM qui pourra donc la faire passer aux participants de ce séminaire. Sans attendre plus longtemps, puisque nous sommes un peu en retard, j'ai le plaisir de passer la parole maintenant à M. Zeev Lavi, qui est le vice-président des relations internationales de la Fédération des chambres de commerce en Israël. M. Lavi est un diplômé de droit, mais un ami de longue date qui travaille depuis des années justement à développer les relations économiques israéliennes avec le monde entier. Et Zeev, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Danny. I hope you can see the presentation. Unfortunately, I do not speak as good as French as Danny is, but just want to say thank you very much for everybody for tuning in and listening. I also want to thank our partners in CGM for giving us this platform to talk a little bit about Israel, to showcase businesses that are interested. What are the opportunities? We heard a little bit from Adiv, and it was really in a nutshell how Israel did a great gap in terms of innovation and technology, and what are the verticals that are very synergetic to Morocco. And I think that I think that the bottom line of that is that a lot of Moroccan companies can benefit from to do joint venture, technological joint venture, and to seek for solutions from Israel. And for that, you have also the Israeli Export Institute here, who is a great partner for that. I want to share with you today a very short presentation about Israel and the potential for you to import to Israel and to look at Israel as your export destination. We know that Morocco is quite a big manufacturing hub, and you can source a lot of different industrial goods and services from. So let's talk about Israel in that perspective. So this is a very short overview about the FICC. We're one of the oldest business organization. We have more than 100 subsectors in division. We are an NGO, non-government organization, and we are representing the private sector, mainly the trade and services. I think what's unique about that we are incorporating a lot of the Israeli importers, wholesalers, retailers. So we have a very close reach to those basically partners, the biggest distributors, whether it's in food or medical devices or automotive, etc. We also, do a lot of trade promotion activities, and let me just skip that. And today I'm going to talk about 5 reasons why you should look at Israel as your export destination. We're going to go over them, and I'm going to summarize them as well. But basically 5 reasons to show you why you should look at Israel in that sense, and where you should come close to it. So this is a little bit about Israel. For those of you who haven't visited yet, because there are lines that are open from 1st of November, hopefully the COVID restrictions are going to end, and we're going to allow tourists that either had the 2nd vaccination or the 3rd vaccination, and it didn't pass 6 months from the 2nd or 3rd vaccination, to enter Israel. So from 1st of November, hopefully you can enter. Israel is quite small, the size of New Jersey. You can go from the northern part to the southern part in 6 hours. We're about 9.3 million people in population, but we are very, we're very growing. The population rate is quite high. Actually, the only OECD WTO country that is going to double its population. So by 2050, we're going to reach 17 million people. So basically doubling the population. As you can see, it's a mixed population. So you have Jews and Arabs living side by side. and it's quite mixed, different, a little bit of a different culture, but it's good also for you for exporting, especially if you're exporting, you know, different flavors or different stuff, because you can have different audiences here. Very high GDP per capita. I don't want to go over the macro indicators, but I just want to say, as Adib mentioned, you know, we have a very strong and stable economy with the GDP per capita that is more than Spain, almost like Japan. Our shekel is quite strong. Our currency is quite strong, meaning that we have a lot of purchasing power. And we're going to see where that purchasing power is coming into play when we look at the imports. This is a very simplified breakdown of industries in Israel. You have traditional industries, and indeed, maybe Danny who's basically representing the manufacturing association here in Israel, can touch a little bit upon it. But we have a very strong industry that produce a lot, very innovative industry as well. And we also have the high-tech industry, the advanced industries that Adib has mentioned before. So that there is that mix. If you look at Israel's foreign trade, we have more. This is not the updated one, but basically Israel very much you know, understood that we need to open our economy, and we did a free trade agreement with the United States, Europe, EFTA. Latin America. Now with Asia, we have signed a free trade agreement with Korea. We're undergoing negotiations with India, with China, with Vietnam, etc. So we're very much trying to you know, open up and globalize our economy. In relation to import, I think very much important to understand that the majority of our import comes from Europe and Turkey and China. Those are big manufacturing hub for Israel. This is our trade surplus. As you can see, our export of services has overcome our export of goods. This is because a lot of our services is in terms of the high-tech industry, and the high-tech industry is quite strong in Israel. But you can see that we import, in terms of goods, around $67 billion yearly, which is quite a lot. And this is a bit of a breakdown. On the left side, you can see what do we import in general and where do we import from. And as I mentioned before, you can see that, you know, for instance, China and, I mean, putting aside the United States, you can see that the majority of our import comes from Europe, and major other parts in terms of states, in terms of countries, are coming from China, Turkey, and the States. But in terms of verticals of exports that are relevant to Morocco, I think that the main competition is EU, China, and Turkey in that sense. Going just to show you a little bit of the numbers, this is in billions of dollars of what you know, how strong is the consumption rate in Israel, both the household consumption and also the industrial consumption, but also in general the importation of also investment goods and fuels, etc. So you can see in 2020, which is a Corona year, it went up. So you see that you have a gradual growth that corresponds with the actual growth of the economy, which is quite strong, and with the actual growth of the population. If we do a breakdown of what we do, here we basically try to show you what happened in a decade. So like in a period of 10 years. And as you can see, that majority of let's say I would call the chapters of different items, of different goods, have more than doubled themselves. You can see it in furniture, food grew up in 51%, footwear, clothing, medical equipment, and almost 300% other consumer goods. So you can see that you have a very stable growth in imports of consumer goods, but also in the same respects of import of raw materials. A lot of it goes to our industry that is also quite strong, and also to a local demand as well. Moving forward, and I'm trying to do it as brief as I possibly can. We can see that, and this is the latest figure that we could have retrieved from our Central Bureau of Statistics, but we can see that the overall import of goods from Morocco is quite low. We're talking about $12 million. You can see the breakdown, and it just means that we're only getting started. It's it's only the first year. It was also a COVID year, but it means that we have a lot of room to grow. So let's talk about the potential, because I think that's much more interesting than what's existing right now. We tried to figure out what would be the potential areas of the export of Morocco to Israel. So I think, other than the kind of like, obvious stuff that you have, and they also correspond with things that we can see here. We can see that the main export potential that is basically on motor vehicles and transportation and automotive parts, etc. This is definitely an area that Morocco can export more, and that Israel has the capacity to import. So this is where we're looking at the potential is something that you can basically import as a percentage of what we import in the world. This is the kind of like the potential gap that you have. But also we're talking about prepare or preserve sardines, airplane and automotive and aeronautic parts, motor vehicles, as I mentioned before, food, tomatoes. We saw textile. It's a very great industry. Just for you to understand, Israel import yearly about $1.5 billion of textile only from China. So our yearly import of textile from China alone is about $1.5 billion. That's quite a lot, and you can compete with that. If we're looking at export potential of food, you can see where is the segments. Here you can see where is your percentage out of 100%. So, basically we're looking at many areas, whether it's vegetables or fishery and processed food, etc., that you can definitely export more to Israel. And as I mentioned, you have a very high growth of population, meaning that you have much more mouths to feed every year. Going back to food, this is how we import yearly in the last 4 years. You can see we import about $3 billion. This is only processed food. If we're adding raw materials, it's more than that. It's more than $5.7 billion, which is quite a lot for Israel. This is the export potential on automotive parts. Israel has a lot of vehicles. Unfortunately for us, there's a lot of traffic here. But the automotive parts, spare parts went to deregulation about 2 years ago, and they opened up the capability to import from other parts. So we are now not only importing from OEMs, but we can import from China, not from only original manufacturers, but also from other places. So
Dave, 2 more minutes. Dave.
Okay, I'm going to go fast. Let's talk a little bit about the Israeli market. Israel is a mature market. You have to understand, in many sectors, and foreign companies have to face significant local and international competition, meaning that you need to know what you're doing. You need to understand if this is the market for you. It's a crowded market, it's a sophisticated market, and you need to treat it as any other market when you come and you go, understand your go-to market and understand if your product is relevant and has either price competitivity or some sort of innovation in it. It's very dynamic in terms of the market structure change, also in terms of we don't have time to go into it, but also in terms of the distribution methods. And distribution methods varies by type of products. I mean, you have agents or for if it's raw materials for industries and stuff like that. But other than that, you can have distributors or import or marketing. But it's not the system of reps like in the United States. Another interesting figure is that roughly 40% of Israel population is basically concentrated an hour drive from Israel, from Tel Aviv. Meaning that you don't need to have a big distribution issues in terms of exporting. So it doesn't need to, it's not like in Germany, you need to find one distributor in Berlin, one distributor in Munich. Shipping, it's quite easy. We're now shipping from Europe. It's quite fast in terms of the freights. We're seeing what's happening now with China. So I think that's a lot of opportunity for in terms of logistics, because of the cost of the world supply chains cost. I think it's an opportunity for exporters from Morocco to look into different growth rates. Just to give you a few examples, all right? So you can see here that we're also looking, the Israeli market look a lot of innovation. So you can see here requests from one of our biggest food chain markets that are looking for private label. Another request for retail tech from one of our biggest drug retail. Another interesting aspect is the fact that we are in the midst of a huge boom of infrastructure and building and real estate. The real estate industry in Israel is booming. So construction industry is quite strong. So anything that is related to construction industry, we are now building highways, interchange, railways, energy, clean tech. So a lot of companies can also operate in that, also offer services or in terms of goods, but also in services to all those kind of aspects. So just to summarize, why to export to Israel? So we have a very strong economy. As you can see in the past decade, we have shown a very strong macro indicators. Our macro indicators were very strong, and we saw a very sustainable economy. We have a high population growth, and we're going to double our economy. It's a developed economy, crowded and sophisticated market. You don't need to educate the market that much. Strong purchasing power, good business culture. A lot of the time we call it the 51 states. Everybody speaks English here. It's very Americanized in a way. English speakers, early adopters, very, very easy legal frame, and easy logistics. As I mentioned before, a lot of the population is concentrated, meaning that you don't need to, you find one local partner and it's it. I have other slides, but I'm going to stop here, and we can share this presentation afterwards. And thank you very much. Thank you, Danny, for hosting.
Okay. Zéu, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Right. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, Zeev, pour cette très bonne présentation qui donc montre également quels sont les points forts de l'économie israélienne et quelles sont les possibilités justement d'import et d'export, parce que nous sommes tous, nous pensons que le commerce et les relations doivent être à l'avantage des deux côtés, et importation et exportation. Pour conclure ce webinaire, nous avons la représentation en fait du ministère de l'Industrie, au ministère de l'Économie et de l'Industrie israélien. Nous avons mademoiselle Noa Partouk, qui est en fait responsable de la région du Moyen-Orient et de l'Afrique du Nord, en fait à ce qui est l'administration du commerce extérieur du ministère de l'Économie et de l'Industrie. Noa donc est la partie du ministère de l'économie qui s'occupe donc du marché marocain, des relations futures entre Israël et le Maroc au niveau des relations entre les deux gouvernements. Elle ne parle pas le français, mais elle a des origines marocaines puisque ses grands-parents sont originaires du Maroc. Alors Noa, à toi la scène.
Shalom, thank you very much. Shalom and salam. Ambassador Govrin, Mr. Ohana, respected colleagues, Madame de Messieurs, chers collègues, amis Marocains, welcome, and I'm very, very excited to share our perspective from the Ministry of Economy of Israel, Economy and Industry. I'm going to share in the next few minutes some of the efforts that were done by the ministry and the progress that we are striving to achieve between the relationship between Israel and Morocco. My name is Noa Partouk. I'm operating the Middle East and the Africa operations here at the Ministry of Economy. And in the next few minutes, we are going to touch upon the ministry and our operations around the world. In a nutshell, what is the Israeli government and the Israeli Moroccan government are doing together to promote the trade between the countries? How do we see the trade potential between the countries, the partners, and the information sources that you could reach in Israel, and a little bit about the Israeli business culture. I would like to start by saying this is a very, very exciting event for us, and we see this relationship as a really important relationship for Israel. It's a really historic moment when we signed the Abraham Accords, and we are all very, very excited for what is to come. So a little bit about the Foreign Trade Administration at the Ministry of Economy. Our main roles are to serve the Israeli industry. We supervise the usage of bilateral export. We attract foreign investment, manage the Israeli and global trade agreements, enlarge and diverse the exports. These are our main goals. We operate under the Ministry of Economy, under the minister, to drive growth and really improve productivity of the Israeli economy. We have 45 offices around the world and more than 200 international employees operating to straighten the trade between Israel and our partners around the world. Every year we serve an industry of $114 billion in exports and more than 3,500 companies a year. So we are very busy and we are always looking to be more busy. Last year with the Abraham Accords, you could really say it was a big celebration in Israel. First of all, because of the importance of the diplomatic relations, and second, because the trade potential is really endless. Prior to the accords, the official relations with our partners in United Arab Emirates, Morocco, Bahrain, and Sudan were very minimal. The official trade between those countries and Israel was very low and close to none. And we see a lot of potential. I'm going to discuss a little bit about the situation today. It was touched upon by Ze'ev a bit earlier. Just in global numbers, our trade currently is $69 million a year. That was 2020. Between Israel and Morocco, export and import. Ze'ev went a little bit deeper into the import aspect, which you could also see here. And you could really see a bit of a correlation of the sectors that we are focusing on today. This was 2020. So the main sectors, as you can see on the export from Israel to Morocco, are mainly chemicals, electrical machinery, food and agriculture, transportation, rubber and plastic, and medical and optical supply. On the import part of Israel importing from Morocco, as I mentioned before, you could see that the chemical products, electrical machinery, food, agriculture and transportation, mineral, base metal. But we really feel, and we have explored it, and we think that the potential is huge to diversify and grow the trade between the countries. So we did a little bit of an analysis of the sectors that has potential between Israel and Morocco as to what both of the countries are interested in, the needs and the strength of Morocco and Israel. And together with our colleagues in Morocco, we have identified a lot of sectors that could really grow, starting from health, digital health and medical equipment, water, agro-technologies, communication and fintech, tourism, of course, infrastructure, the automotive industry, which is very important for Morocco, textile, aerospace, and renewable and green energy. We really wish that in the next coming years, we are going to see those sectors really influencing the mass of trade between Israel and Morocco. And we know that there are a lot of Israeli companies that are interested to operate in Morocco and to find Moroccan partners to work with in these sectors. All the partners that we met here today are your partners in Israel. All these people are here to represent the Israeli economy, connect to the Israeli economy, and we all work together in mutual efforts to make all these goals happen. We are uniting forces to really ensure that the bridge between Israeli and Moroccan industry are stronger and bigger. Before we finish, I would like to talk a little bit in a nutshell about the Israeli business culture. As you visit Israel, meet Israeli partners, it's really important to know that the Israeli business culture is welcoming, Israeli business people are excited to meet the Moroccan partners. We are informal and we feel that everyone is a family. So when people meet you and treat you like brothers, it's because they feel that you are part of our family. We are creative and sophisticated as a country that grew from a developed country from a developing country to a developed country. We had to be creative, think outside the box to solve our problems. And this is how we look at things today. Israeli people, the Israeli business community is very committed. Once they start something, they will be there to make sure that it happens. And it's important to know that we are also direct and open. So when people want to talk tachlis, it means that they really want to get to the chase. And it comes from the fact that we value openness, we value directness. In general, all the industry is very, very excited. When we are all very excited, we are here for you, me personally, and all the great partners that are here today. We want to see you in Israel, and we're looking forward to visit you in Morocco. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup pour cette présentation. Donc, merci à Noah. J'ai devant moi, nous avons très peu de temps qui nous reste, mais il y a eu quelques questions qui ont été posées. Tout d'abord, la question sur des salons spécialisés dans le domaine des équipements médicaux, laboratoires d'analyse, etc. Bon, vous savez tous que nous sommes en fait dans une période post-Covid. Les salons qui existaient ou qui avaient lieu sont en train de reprendre, mais toutes les informations sur les salons qui en fait sont en Israël ou vont rouvrir en Israël pourront être trouvées sur les sites du Export Institute qui organise les salons en Israël et sur le ministère de l'Industrie. Et nous avons ici d'ailleurs avec nous Einat Lévy de l'ambassade d'Israël à Rabat qui elle aussi pourra vous fournir toutes les informations sur les salons qui auront lieu. En plus, on nous a demandé est-ce qu'il y avait des cabinets de conseil de fiscalité et de droit de société. Évidemment, il y a beaucoup d'avocats, de bureaux de conseil en Israël. C'est une chose qui existe et il n'y a aucun problème de trouver des listes. Et je sais que notre ambassade à Rabat pourra également vous conseiller et nous pourrons certainement vous donner des adresses de bureaux de conseil qui pourront donc vous aider à avoir des contacts. J'ai bien noté les remarques pour la carte qui a été présentée dans la présentation de Noah. Nous ferons le nécessaire pour ajuster les cartes comme il faut. Pour ce qui est des droits de douane, on a posé la question quels sont les droits de douane pour les produits marocains qui arrivent en Israël. Pour l'instant, comme il n'y a pas d'accord encore de libre-échange entre les deux pays, peut-être que ça viendra un jour, les droits de douane appliqués aux produits marocains sont les droits de ce qu'on appelle le MFN et vous pouvez trouver tous ces droits de douane par les sites de l'Organisation mondiale du commerce ou sur le site du ministère des Finances israélien ou des douanes israéliennes. Et en fait, le droit de douane appliqué aux produits marocains en Israël est le même qu'avec tous les autres pays avec lesquels nous n'avons pas d'accord de libre-échange. Nous espérons peut-être arriver un jour à un accord de libre-échange, ce qui éliminera éventuellement les droits de douane des produits marocains arrivant en Israël. Et d'ailleurs, les produits de douane israéliens rentrant au Maroc également ont ce qu'on appelle le taux douanier officiel du MFM, du Most Favored Nation. Je regarde encore les questions qu'il y a. Je regarde donc pour ce qui est de tout ce qui est des arrangements pour clarifier les exportations, en fait, les accords qui vont être signés, peut-être je vais demander à Noah, puisqu'on parle des accords, est-ce que Noah pourra je vais lui poser la question en anglais ou en hébreu, comme ça ira plus vite. Noah, אם אתה יכולה טיפה להרחיב על הסכמי הסחר העתידיים שאמורים להיות בינינו לבין מרוקו, אם יש דברים בדרך. בבקשה, נועה, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, we are working on a mutual...
No, I'll be mute.
Nisayon? It's okay. Thank you for the question. As I mentioned earlier, the two governments, the Ministry of Economy and our peers in Morocco, are working together for a signing of a mutual trade agreement. It's a trade partnership agreement. Hopefully it will be signed this year, by the end of the year. It will include the mutual desire of the two countries to open the barriers between us and make sure that it's infrastructured for an easier trade between Israel and Morocco. We really hope that in the future there will be developments of further agreements. Currently, we are establishing the main infrastructure, the basic infrastructure, hoping that it will really give the industries the opportunities to operate easier and export and import in a faster, more productive way.
Thank you, merci. Il a été également posé la question, est-ce qu'il y aura des accords de fiscalité, de prévention de double imposition? Cela fait partie des accords du ministère des Finances et je pense que là aussi, cela sera partie des accords qui seront en cours. Ce n'est pas le ministère de l'Industrie et du Commerce qui est responsable de ces accords, c'est plutôt le ministère des Finances. Mais nous, en tant que secteur privé, allons certainement faire pression pour qu'un accord et de protection de l'investissement et un accord d'abolition de double imposition fiscale puissent être signés entre les deux pays. Je dois vous dire que la visite prochainement de notre ministre de l'économie et de l'industrie va probablement avoir lieu au Maroc dans les semaines à venir. Et nous aussi, en tant que secteur privé israélien, nous préparons une visite au Maroc avec les représentants des grandes entreprises israéliennes. Donc, ce sera l'occasion d'avoir des rencontres physiques et réelles. Pour ce qui est de l'entrée de Marocains en Israël, il faut en fait se référer aux réglementations du Covid, mais à partir du 1er novembre, Israël sera beaucoup plus ouvert aux touristes et aux hommes d'affaires qui voudront venir en Israël. Toutes les réglementations sont publiées sur les sites et si vous contactez l'ambassade d'Israël à Rabat, vous aurez toutes les informations puisque malheureusement les instructions et les directives changent relativement souvent vu la situation du Covid et en Israël et dans le monde. Je regarde quelles sont encore les questions. Voilà, est-ce qu'il y aurait encore des questions? Je pense que nous arrivons en fait à conclure ce séminaire. Comme je vous l'ai dit, ce n'est que la première manche. La deuxième manche sera le 4-11 avec nos partenaires de la CGEM. Et je pense que là, la bonne carte marocaine sera présentée. Je pense qu'effectivement, il y a ici un problème que nous devons résoudre chez nous. Il y aura donc la vraie carte du Maroc. Et nous attendons tous avec impatience la possibilité de voyager, d'avoir des contacts. Et je tiens donc à remercier infiniment tous les participants, et les participants au Maroc, et les participants panélistes de différentes organisations israéliennes. Et pour être ponctuel, je vous remercie encore une fois d'avoir participé et on espère se revoir physiquement ou au Maroc ou en Israël. Merci beaucoup.